Here's the truth. When she senses you've truly stopped caring, it doesn't bring her closer. It rattles her. Because silence, when rooted in strength, reverses the entire dynamic. Suddenly, the control slips. And now, she's the one left wondering. In this video, we're not just decoding a message, we're uncovering the emotional stages she silently spirals through, and how you can stay grounded in power instead of pulled back into illusion. You won't want to miss this. Like this video and subscribe to Stoic Station if you're ready to stop reacting and start leading. Start this journey now. Drop a 1 if you've ever been pulled back by one message, or a 2 if you finally chose stillness instead. I read every comment. Your story matters. And stay with me, because what you'll learn next may shift everything you thought you understood about her silence and your power. Now, let's dive in. 1. Not every message is an invitation. When she finally breaks the silence with a simple, "Hey," your heart might leap before your logic can catch up. But don't mistake that momentary jolt for a sign. Not every message is a bridge back, and not every hand extended is meant to pull you closer. Most men rush to interpret it as longing, as regret, as proof she misses them. But more often than not, it's none of those things. It's curiosity, ego, or a way to make sure she still holds space in your world. You see her name pop up, and your mind instantly lights up with hope. Maybe she's changed. Maybe she wants to fix this. But pause. That thought is rarely grounded in truth. It's an emotional reflex born from unresolved desire. Many women don't reach out because they want a second chance. They reach out to see if they still have access, to check if the door is still open, if their name still stirs you, if they can still interrupt your peace with one line. Her message may come from boredom, or maybe from a moment of doubt, but your craving for clarity can seduce you into believing in a fantasy. This is where stoic detachment becomes your compass. Ask yourself one question: what does this message truly change about my healing? If the answer is nothing, then it isn't an invitation. It's a test, a mirror, a trap wrapped in nostalgia. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. That text, that's an outside event. What matters isn't her message. What matters is the man who receives it and the strength he chooses to respond with, or not at all. 2. Why she reaches out. She didn't think you'd stay silent. Not this long, not this calm. She expected a reaction, a reach, a slip. But when your silence held, unapologetic and unmoved, something shifted in her. That's why she's reaching now. And while it's easy to believe it's out of care or remorse, there's something deeper beneath the surface, something psychological, not emotional. Human nature isn't built to handle absence. We crave rhythm, even if it's painful. When you disappeared with dignity, you didn't just remove yourself from her life. You disrupted her emotional equilibrium. Enter cognitive dissonance. She made a decision to leave, and that decision made sense at the time. But now her inner world is uncomfortable. Her current emotion no longer aligns with that choice. She needs something to ease that discomfort. Her message is that balm. But don't confuse the reach with reconnection. It's not always you she misses. It's the version of herself that existed when you still responded. That identity is fading, and she's grasping to feel it again. Your silence reclassifies you in her mind as something rare, something lost, something no longer guaranteed. That's the endowment effect. We assign greater value to what we feel we've owned, but can no longer access. So when that message comes, don't hear "I love you," hear "I feel your absence." And that distinction matters, because her text isn't proof she wants you back. It's proof that your presence had weight, and your silence still does. That's not a sign to cave. That's your leverage. Protect it. 3. Emotional reactivity is the real enemy. She finally messages you, and before you even read the words, your heart jumps, your chest tightens, your thumb hovers over the reply button like a reflex you can't control. In that moment, it feels urgent, like you have to say something. But pause, because what you're feeling isn't clarity, it's compulsion. It's your nervous system scrambling to make sense of an emotional jolt, not your inner wisdom deciding from strength. Most men, without even realizing it, respond with an outpouring of validation. They say too much. They try too hard. They treat her message like a life raft tossed into a sea of regret. And yet, what they don't see is this. The moment you react impulsively, you give her confirmation that she still has emotional power over you, that her attention still dictates your behavior, that she can still steer the wheel without ever getting back in the car. You think you're reigniting connection, but what you're actually doing is reigniting her control. You're not showing affection, you're showing surrender. That response doesn't open her heart, it reaffirms her position above you in the emotional hierarchy. And once she feels that power again, the chase dies instantly. This is where the Stoic Pause becomes your greatest ally. Breathe, observe, ask yourself, is this message really deserving of a reply, or am I just scared of the silence it threatens to leave behind? If it's fear talking, silence is your answer. If it's clarity speaking, your response will be measured, grounded, and free of emotional need. Because when you choose stillness over desperation, everything changes. You shift the dynamic. You become unpredictable, not in chaos, but in calm. The man she expected to sway with one message is gone. In his place stands someone she no longer controls, and that's when the real power begins. 4. The weight of intentional silence. Silence isn't passive, it's pressure. It doesn't whisper, it compresses. It creates space where thoughts echo, where emotion builds, where memory sharpens. And yet, so many men mistake silence for inaction, as if withholding a reply somehow makes them weak or immature. So they speak too soon, not out of clarity, but out of fear. Fear she'll forget them. Fear the silence will be mistaken for indifference. But real silence, intentional silence, isn't absence. It's sovereignty. You may worry that if you don't respond, she'll move on. But that fear reveals a deeper truth, that you're still placing the weight of your worth in her hands. The moment you break the silence prematurely, you relieve her of the very tension that might have made her reflect. You take away the only mirror that forces her to see what life is like without your presence. And without that space, she has nothing to miss. Because people don't miss noise, they miss rhythm. And when that rhythm breaks, not with anger but with stillness, that's when the loss becomes real. Silence held with purpose does something words can't. It speaks of self-respect, of boundaries, of the man who doesn't need to explain why he stepped away, because the gap says it all. She doesn't need a paragraph. She needs to feel the distance she created, and that requires discipline. Let silence be your stance. Let it carry the message your pride no longer needs to spell out. You don't owe her reassurance nor explanation. What you owe yourself is clarity and the courage to hold it. As Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." Your silence isn't weakness. It's freedom from emotional slavery. It's the language of a man who no longer begs to be heard because he has already been felt. 5. When and why you should respond. Not all silence is forever. Sometimes a message comes through that feels different, calmer, clearer, more intentional. It's not a breadcrumb, not a test, not bait laced with vague curiosity. It carries weight, effort, a trace of sincerity. And in that moment you pause, not because you're unsure of your worth, but because you understand something deeper. Replying isn't just about the words you choose, it's about the energy you allow back into your space. Most men struggle here. They can't tell the difference between genuine vulnerability and clever manipulation, so they either fall too quickly or shut down completely. But when her message shows real effort, when it steps beyond generic greetings and touches something meaningful, it deserves your awareness, not your surrender. Still, the hesitation creeps in. Is this an olive branch or just a smarter strategy to test your emotional temperature? If you respond too warmly, it might reaffirm old patterns. Too cold, and it feels like punishment. The key isn't in choosing between warmth or distance. It's in staying neutral, grounded, unshaken. A simple response like, "Thanks for reaching out. What made you think of me today?" places the weight of clarity on her, not you. It invites her to reveal intent without handing her your emotional pulse on a silver platter. Because the strength isn't in responding, it's in how you hold yourself after the response. Do you stay centered if she pulls away again? Do you remain clear even if she becomes vague? This is where boundaries speak louder than charm. You're not replying to reignite the past. You're opening a door only if she proves she's walking in with truth, not tactics. Respond not from longing, but from self-possession, and let the quality of her follow-through determine if the conversation continues, or if your silence returns, even stronger than before. 6. The weight factor and the return of value. You don't need to reply right away. In fact, that's exactly where your power lives, in the space between her message and your response. Most men believe speed equals interest, that replying instantly proves you're attentive or emotionally mature. But in truth, what it often signals is availability, and availability without boundaries dilutes value. When something becomes too accessible, it fades into the background. People don't chase what always responds. They forget what doesn't require effort to reach. Your fear will whisper lies. If I wait, she'll lose interest. She'll think I don't care. But that's not wisdom speaking. That's your emotional craving disguising itself as logic. And when fear dictates timing, you're no longer in control. You're reacting, not leading. So the next time she messages you, and your instinct tells you to drop everything, stop, breathe. If her message creates anxiety, that's not a cue to respond. That's a cue to slow down and check in with yourself. Where is this pressure coming from? Is it urgency or insecurity? Waiting isn't punishment. It's positioning. It signals that your time is valuable, your attention isn't free, and your emotions aren't up for auction. The longer she waits, the more she feels the weight of what she once had easy access to. Scarcity isn't manipulation, it's reflection. It shows her you've changed, that you're no longer that man who replies out of hope. You reply from choice, and that choice builds value, one silent minute at a time. 7. Her effort must match her entry. Her message isn't the story, it's just the spark. What matters is what she does next. Too many men get pulled back in after a single "hey," only to feel the sting of silence once the high wears off. One message isn't redemption, it's a knock. But will she actually walk through the door, or just linger outside to see if you'll open it for her? If her energy is inconsistent, you're not in a relationship, you're in a loop. Words alone don't carry weight. It's her follow-through that reveals whether she's truly reconnecting or simply seeking reassurance. Real interest shows up with presence, with effort, with consistency. So match her energy, not her fantasy. If she's sending breadcrumbs, don't bake her a feast. If she's vague, don't become overly available. Mirror what she gives, not what you wish she gave. That's not coldness, it's clarity. And clarity protects you from slipping into another cycle of one-sided hope. You're not asking for too much by requiring real effort. You're just refusing to build a future on weak foundations. Let her actions prove her intent, or let your silence speak louder. 8. Recenter your emotional axis. Your emotional center cannot be her message, it must be your mission. Because the moment her words start steering your emotions, you've already left the path you promised yourself you'd stay on. You were healing, making progress, slowly rebuilding your rhythm, your strength, your peace. Then suddenly, ping, one message, and it feels like everything trembles again. But it only hits that hard if, somewhere along the way, you stopped anchoring yourself in who you're becoming. Her message doesn't reignite love. It pokes at the part of you still unsure if you were ever enough. That's not connection. That's a crack in your foundation asking to be sealed. And it won't be sealed by replying. It will be sealed by remembering your direction. So ask yourself, am I shaken because I still care, or because I forgot how far I've come? A single message can only tilt a man who's lost his center. Refocus. Come back to your values, your purpose, your habits that bring strength, not noise. Real growth isn't interrupted by echoes from the past, it's tested by them. A grounded man doesn't chase validation in a message. He stands firm in the silence he earned and lets the world adjust to his new gravity. 9. Reclaiming control is your real victory. She reached out, but this isn't about her. This moment, right now, is about you. Not as a reaction to her presence, but as a reflection of your evolution. In the past, she may have held the emotional steering wheel. Her attention dictated your mood. Her silence controlled your mind. But if you've grown, truly grown, then this is the moment where you take your hands off the past and place them firmly on your own direction. Old patterns will try to pull you back. They'll whisper, be kind, be open, don't blow your chance. But you need to ask yourself, a chance for what? To feel needed again? To feel chosen? Or to once again lose your footing in a dynamic where her message defines your worth? Every response is a decision, not just about communication, but about identity. Are you responding from scarcity or from sovereignty? From clarity or from craving? To reclaim control isn't to dominate the situation, it's to no longer be dictated by it. You don't have to be cold, you don't have to be distant, but you do have to be conscious, because the win isn't getting her back. It's recognizing that your peace doesn't depend on whether she stays or goes. It's standing in the stillness and knowing, I am whole, whether she sees it or not. Reclaiming control is the quiet victory, the one no one claps for, but everyone eventually feels. Because when your power no longer hinges on her message, that's when you become untouchable, not by distance, but by depth. 10. The message is about you, not her. Her message may have sparked this moment, but it's not hers to define, it's yours. Too many men see her reaching out as a turning point, a shift in the story where maybe, just maybe, everything starts over. But that assumption hands her the pen again. And if you've done the inner work, if you've bled in silence and rebuilt your sense of self, then you already know this moment isn't about her feelings. It's about your evolution. This chapter is yours, your growth, your boundaries, your clarity. And if you give that away the second she resurfaces, you undo everything you've become. She might be the catalyst, but she's not the conclusion. If you let her message reframe your purpose, you've lost the narrative. You didn't fight through pain and self-doubt just to become the man who folds the moment she returns. You didn't come this far to rewind. Her message is not your direction. It's a detail, and how you respond, whether you choose to reply, delay, or walk away entirely, must come from sovereignty, not scarcity, from inner strength, not emotional hunger. The goal was never to chase closure. The goal was to rise so high in your own self-worth that you no longer need it. This is the man who decides from peace, not panic, from power, not persuasion, from vision, not nostalgia. She reached out, but the real question is, will you reach inward before you reach back? Because in the end, the most powerful thing you can do is not prove anything to her, but prove everything to yourself, that you've already become the kind of man who no longer needs to be chosen, because he's already chosen himself. Let me be direct with you, as a man speaking to other men who've been there. When she finally reaches out after silence, it stirs everything: hope, doubt, the urge to respond. But here's what you need to understand clearly. Her message is not the moment that defines you. You are. What we've just walked through isn't a list of tricks. It's a reminder of who you're becoming. You've learned that not every message is a lifeline. Some are just echoes of ego, tests wrapped in nostalgia. You've seen that her outreach often reveals her discomfort with your silence, not her readiness for something real. And more than anything, you've understood that reacting emotionally, too quickly, or without clarity, only resets the imbalance you worked so hard to escape. This is your turning point, not because she texted, but because you've grown strong enough to decide how to respond, if at all. Silence, pause, boundaries, clarity. These aren't games. They are your shield, your power, your proof that you're no longer the man chasing closure. You've become the man who creates it for himself. So remember this: her message didn't bring your value back into the room. It only reminded her of the value you never stopped carrying. And whether you answer or walk away, the win isn't in her reaction, it's in your restraint. Your value was never lost. It was just finally quiet enough to be felt. So today, choose clarity over craving. Choose self-respect over reaction. If this message grounded you, take a moment. Like this video and subscribe to Stoic Station. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. My power is in my pause. Because your next chapter begins with just one choice. Will you lead from emotion or from mastery?